made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Good morning, Vietnam. Just kidding. It's episode 39 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
Hello, everyone. So today is Lacey Book. Her message is very valuable when it comes to understanding the specific of upper cervical care and what it means to build community in chiropractic. So, what influenced you to become a chiropractor, and what makes you unique in the chiropractic world?
You know, Jim, I always get asked this story, and it's really interesting because when I was growing up, I didn't actually know anything about chiropractic. I never heard the word chiropractic. Nobody in my family had ever been to a chiropractor. And so it was a very foreign idea and foreign profession to me. And when I was young, when I was 16, I was working in a bank, and there was this crazy, lovely lady that used to always wait for my teller window. And one day she came up to me and she slid her card over and she said, "I want you to work for me." And I was like, what is this lady talking about? And I flipped her card over, and lo and behold, she was a chiropractor. And it's really interesting because everybody always says, oh, chiropractic found me. And for the longest time, I thought that was so cliche, but man, isn't it the truth? I mean, chiropractic literally fell into my lap, and I flipped her card over and I saw that she was a chiropractor, and I didn't even know what it was. And I wouldn't have worked for her except she said something to me that forever changed my life. And she said, "Lacey, whatever you're getting paid, I'll pay you more." Right? And I mean, I was 16 years old. Like, more money? That's great. I want to have a nice car. I've got things to do. So I actually ended up working for her and her husband. They were a husband and wife team. And that started my chiropractic journey. And I just immediately fell in love. I worked for chiropractors over the next 7 years, 5 different doctors, and just absolutely loved what I did. I loved the impact it made. I loved seeing people's lives get changed. And one day realized when one of my docs came up to me and said, you're on the wrong side of the counter. You need to go to chiropractic school. And then off I went.
That's a really cool story. And, I came into getting to know you probably 4 years, maybe longer. You were speaking at the Epoch in Loveland in Colorado. And I saw you speak, and you told, I don't know if you want to share this personal story, but you shared a story about your dad. And that story has like a forever imprint on me. So I think that what you have to offer with your message is definitely something that people will benefit from.
Yeah, no, I don't mind sharing that story. It's really interesting. When I worked in those chiropractic offices, there was always this kind of question that sat in the back of my mind. And people would come in, and I remember they would come in and they would have, shoulder pain or back pain or a knee problem or whatever it is that they were struggling with. They would come in, they would get better, and then they would go away. And then lo and behold, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, they would show up again with the same problem. And I always wondered, chiropractic is this beautiful, amazing thing. And I kind of understood this concept a little bit about this big idea of chiropractic and what it could potentially do. So I always wondered, why was it that was happening? Why was it that people would come back with the same problem once, twice, 3 times, year after year after year? And I couldn't quite articulate it in that way. It was in my mind. I couldn't verbalize it, and I didn't have the answer or the solution. And When I went to chiropractic school, lucky for me, first day was philosophy. And I remember sitting down in that class with my ego on, my cockiness on, thinking I knew everything about chiropractic and all I needed to do was figure out how to adjust. And I sat down and this teacher said, you know how chiropractors have this miracle story that they tell everywhere they go? He said, I think that that's great, but he said, I got to tell you something. In my office, I expect nothing less than a miracle every single day. And I remember sitting there thinking, what is that? Like, what is he talking about? And that literally shook me to my core. I would say that that was one of the most pivotal moments in my entire career, was that moment with that one line that was said in that very first day, first hour of school. And that actually started me on my journey of researching upper cervical specific chiropractic. And that's what I do today in my office. And I'm a student. I'm a forever student. I love to learn, not just chiropractic. I love to learn about all things. And so for the entire course of my student life, I studied, research, practice, knee-chest upper cervical work, studied the green books, read the books, understood the philosophy, the principles. And my father, what was really difficult about this, you study all and do all this work. And my father, he was a lot older when I was growing up. He was 30 years older than my mom, in fact. So there was a big age difference there, which I got to tell you is pretty amazing because they never fought a day in my life and they had the most beautiful relationship on the planet. But my dad, came from a day and age where he didn't just treat himself very well. And so here I am, I'm the perfect student. I practice, I work hard, and just a couple of months after my graduation, I was at my parents' house. And I remember growing up, my dad, he was that guy that never needed an alarm clock. He woke up every single day at the same time. He had that internal clock in his body. And I remember waking up and it was 7:00 and my dad wasn't up yet. And I thought it was a little bit strange. An hour passed by. I ended up walking to his room. And Jim, I remember opening his door and peeking through the door and seeing my father there, literally lifeless on his bed.
Oh, wow.
And he had suffered a massive stroke. And I ended up calling 911. They came, and he ended up being in a nursing home for the last couple months of his life before he ended up passing away. And I remember I was so paralyzed by the fear of what happened to him that I didn't even have it in me to check him for nervous system interference and see if he was subluxated. The man that raised me, that instilled every single moral, work ethic, everything in me, all my studies, everything I had done, everything I thought I knew went completely out the window, and I didn't have it in me to check him. And I didn't know how much that impacted me over the first year of my practice until one morning I realized, I woke up, that that moment had paralyzed me. And I didn't have the capability to take care of people the way that they deserved because I didn't do it for him. And in that moment, when I realized that, I said that was never, ever going to happen again in my life. There was never going to be a person that stepped through my office, that stepped through my door, that needed what we have, the service that we provide, the ability to remove nervous system interference and allow an individual to adapt and express life at their fullest potential. I was never going to say no to anybody ever again because of what happened with my father. And that convicted me more than anything, any book, anything I could have read, any other moment I could have had. That convicted me to be who I am now and the way that I deliver chiropractic in the way that I teach it to our doctors, in the way that we teach it in the art of the specific, because every life is just as valuable and everybody deserves for us to be able to say, yes, we can help you. That's the story.
Yeah, and when you first said that to me, that story a couple years back, it just touched me forever. And I commend you on developing yourself into who you are today from learning and, having that type of, mental conditioning, if you will.
Yeah, and it doesn't, the reality of it is if you want to be able to stand in that place as a chiropractor, to be able to accept anybody, no matter what condition that they're in, that mental toughness, that ability, that has to forever be worked on. It's perpetual. It doesn't stop. You always have to be learning. You have to be studying. You have to be practicing. You have to be fine-tuning your skill. You have to always be lit by the fire of chiropractic. That can't go away,
So what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world? What are you doing differently than everyone else?
I don't know that I'm actually doing anything different compared to the people that have come before me or the people that are here now. I would just say that I don't let the day-to-day stuff get to me, because I feel like the chiropractic principles, the philosophy, it's so much bigger than us. It's so much bigger than we could ever fully, completely comprehend and understand. And so I don't know that I do anything different, except that I'm constantly working to move forward. I have to say, I do think over the course and the history of chiropractic that it's unfortunate, but the philosophy and its principles are becoming slightly lost. The schools teach it less. It's harder and harder to find green books. And within those books really lies a lot of the answers that most chiropractors are looking for. And it's just a matter of waking up every day and being on the hunt and the search for them so that your chiropractic soul can always be fed. If I do anything different than some people, that's what I do constantly. I just feed it all the time so that I can always be lit.
Well, I think one of the things that makes you different, in my opinion, is the art of specific. I think that makes you different a little bit in the chiropractic sphere, in the chiro world. And I also think that the work that you guys are doing in El Salvador is something that's unique.
Yeah, and so what we do is, the art of the specific, that is our technique that we teach all over the world, and it is specifically knee-chest upper cervical work. The one thing that's great about that program, you're right, is it's very unique from a seminar standpoint because it walks you through the philosophy, the history, the neurology, old and new subluxation theories, and then the technique itself. So it's a very comprehensive program, and there's not a lot of people on the planet that practice that way. Our offices, the Specific Chiropractic Centers, we only do knee-chest upper cervical work and nothing more. That's all we do. And so that does make us a little bit unique because we don't add anything else in. And then you're right, we do also do a mission trip twice a year where we do our outreach to other countries. We've gone to El Salvador. We were just recently in Mexico. We're working on some, Nicaragua. And so there's a lot of places that we go to serve, to just truly give back with zero expectation in return.
But you can see what that does for other people's lives that might not have the money to pay for health care, or they might not have the means to seeing doctors. So to have a group of chiropractors come down and the chiropractic adjustment, it produces miracles. And I think that when you are able to take care of people that might not have any other caregivers providing to them, it's pretty amazing some of the things that you see.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you know, as you dive further and further into the chiropractic profession, there's a lot of stigma around chiropractic here in the United States. And so people come into our offices, they network with us, they talk to us, and they have a preconceived idea of what chiropractic is about and what it's capable of doing. When you go to these other countries and they don't know anything about chiropractic, and they have no preconceived notion, and they just allow chiropractic and the ability to remove nervous system interference, remove the subluxation, and allow their body to do its job without overthinking it, you're right. You see the body return to normal, and amazing things happen in a very, very short time. It's pretty phenomenal.
So, do you have any favorite mantras or quotes that you tell yourself on a daily basis? Anything that keeps your fire going?
I would say that my mantra is done is better than perfect. I find often that I tell myself that many times a day. And even my associate doctors, the doctors that we work with, I find often that people are very paralyzed by fear. You know, they don't do things, they don't put themselves out there. They, they're scared to sell themselves or market themselves about their service with the fear of being judged, that it's not just right. And I was once in that place. And so I had to remind myself, done is better than perfect. Let's just keep moving forward and get things done, because we have a big job to do, and we can't be paralyzed with the idea of trying to get everything just right. And so that's helped me a lot in my career.
That reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Les Brown. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Absolutely. That's a perfect fit for that. Yes.
So what would we be able to accomplish if more people knew about your cause and what you were doing?
Well, I think, especially if you look at the outreach programs that we do, I think that if more people worked to go and serve and not have an expectation in return and just serve for the sake of serving, we hear that all the time, I think that it would help spread chiropractic around the world. You know, there's a lot of places out there that have very few chiropractors. Landscape isn't what it should be like in those countries. And so it requires a lot of people coming together, united, and going out and giving the service so that more people have exposure to it. I think if more people did that, we could, really change the state of this world. I've always felt like chiropractic needs to take its rightful place on this planet. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of things historically that have stopped us from doing so. So we just need to work harder and even put out more effort and do things that are a little bit outside of our bubble that we live in on a day-to-day basis in our offices, right?
So jumping off of chiropractic taking its rightful place in the world, where do you see the profession in 20 years? That's
a very tough question to answer. I know where I would like to see it, but the harsh reality sometimes is when we look at even the schools in the United States, that there's a lot of schools that are teaching the more mechanistic type of chiropractic, where people are starting to look at more modalities and drugs and things that they want to put in the profession. And frankly, I have to tell you that scares me, that shakes me a little bit. And so I think over the course of the next 20 years, there's going to have to be some stepping up and some fighting for old turf, as we would say, right, Jim? In order to get chiropractic where it should be. We've got work to do, so I'm not quite sure. I guess if I had an answer for that, then we'd probably all be in a better place, right?
And from what you just said, it makes me think that if we if we made the profession distinct, that it didn't allow drugs and surgery, no matter how much of an influence that might be from the political landscape of education, I think that's where the push is coming from. It's not coming from the actual chiropractor. It's coming from the political agenda of the education system. And what if we could just say we could reboot the way that chiropractic schools are run? Do you think we could clear some of that up?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, my husband and I, Sean, we travel all over the world and we talk to students and doctors alike. And I will tell you something. You're absolutely right. You've hit that on the head, because these students coming out of those schools that are pushing that agenda, they just don't know anything different. They don't know that just chiropractic can do the things that they're being told they need all of this other stuff for, right? And so you're right. It's the agenda of the schools and the education. The people behind that are causing this blinding of the chiropractic student, where they don't know. And so that's the natural route that they're going to go. So it would require a rebooting of the chiropractic education. It would require us, changing the curriculum to reflect more about, kind of the principles of chiropractic, so that people could get back on track.
Well, I think honestly, Lacey, the group of chiropractors out there right now is a strong number. And if we just started to all, think like-minded, what can the chiropractic profession do to bridge into becoming the leaders in the health profession? I think that people would definitely, they would look at it a little bit differently and say, hey, if you guys want to do that stuff, go to med school. If you guys want to do that stuff, go over there and become a nurse practitioner. If you want to do that stuff, become a PT, and don't go to chiropractic school.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do those things, right? But it's just not chiropractic.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Movewell University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. And that's the thing about the chiropractic philosophy and the history of chiropractic. If you want to become a chiropractor, go to school to become a chiropractor, to look for subluxation, to analyze that subluxation, and to correct that subluxation, and give the body the fighting chance that it deserves to live healthy. And I think that too many times in our Western culture, we become a little soft, and we always want something to be an outside-in source. And I think that the chiropractic philosophy has always been on a strong foundation on its own 2 feet, that they've always, said this whole concept of the body doesn't need anything extra. It simply needs no interference. And I think that those simple philosophies, they transcend into a culture. But like we've discussed, if, people don't see it that way, then they should probably maybe not consider chiropractic as a profession.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting, because I still have that, where will our chiropractic profession be in 20 years? It's like in the back of my mind right now. Because I think that we all think about that all of the time. Those of us that are really kind of in it, right, and understand what's going on in the chiropractic profession. But I think I think you're right. I think there's right now there's bubbling up of people that are leaders, that are strong, that are starting to come together to make change, right? One of the things that I support, and I'm actually on the board for, is the IFCO. We are chiropractic. The IFCO works really hard, like you said, to make sure that people can detect and correct vertebral subluxation when necessary, so that we can remove nervous system interference, because that's all it is. If the body is free of nervous system interference, the body can function optimally and people can live the life that they deserve. everything else outside of that is an outside-in approach. And you're right, it's just changing. It does change the landscape of our profession when people are being taught that those are the answers.
Yeah, and honestly, with everybody, when they come to you, depends on their condition of lifestyle. There always is a limitation of matter. But
Sure.
I always tell people that your life is better off with chiropractic getting adjusted than it would be without it.
Right, absolutely. And that's our only job, is to remove that interference. And whatever limitation of matter it is, that person will still be able to live their best life within that limitation. And that's what this is all about, right?
I agree with you. I think that, chiropractors change the course of a person's personal culture. I think that once you become under chiropractic care, your body vibrates at a different frequency. I mean, that might sound a little esoteric, but I honestly think that when people have, their brain isn't thinking about pain or discomfort or dysfunction, and it's able to think about lightness and joy and love, I think we change the landscape of that person's future.
Well, not only their future, but the people that are directly impacted by them. They become better fathers and mothers and brothers and teachers and leaders by just having what you just said. They don't have to think about pain anymore. They can focus on love and happiness and being their best self. And so it's not just their landscape that's changed, but all those people around them. And that impacts a community. And the more that we can do that with individuals, the more we can have a greater impact on the world. And that's where chiropractic's rightful place should truly be, impacting the world so that, people have that landscape changed and their future changed by just being free of nervous system interference.
But, back to that is, it hasn't become popular mainstream in Western culture because it doesn't involve anything but your two hands. And when the people have the power in their hands, that gives almost too much control to the chiropractor, because the chiropractor doesn't give anything else but the adjustment. So, it doesn't go well with the big agenda of, modern medicine. It goes actually the opposite direction.
Right. We make them lose money, not make them money, right?
But, it's good for, the health of society. And I think that there's other cultures, like you're saying, it's a huge landscape out there. And, even the Chinese government are realizing that having a healthier population of people, it saves them money. And it's not about, big business at that point. It's about quality of life for your citizen. And,
Absolutely.
There's even smaller nations like Fiji that are very on board with the chiropractic message. And that the more that we have people getting adjusted under chiropractic supervision, there's less need for high cost medical intervention.
Right. And, I would say, Jim, I would say that most people are on board with the chiropractic message. They just don't know necessarily that that's the chiropractic message, right? If it's delivered correctly and you tell them what chiropractic is all about and you're able to market it and sell it in a way that they can, get behind and understand chiropractic, they're just confused about our message, so they don't know that that's ours. This idea of living your best life free of drugs and surgery and, going down that road. People don't want that. They just don't know that it's obtainable through chiropractic.
Well, you touched on something very real there. I think that people don't realize that they need chiropractic, but I also think that people don't realize when they need medical intervention either. And
I agree with that, yes.
Most of the time, honestly, I think that you probably heard this said before probably many times, is people need two doctors in their life, one to keep them healthy and one to save them from dying. And I think that that's very true in Western culture, that we look to like the medical profession as almost like a God sense. And I think that we look at the practitioner as somebody that's going to save us from our illness, save us from our dismay, save us from our poor health condition. And I think that when we think about the Western culture and what we've become, like our ideology is, we want somebody to save our life, but we don't realize that chiropractic over a lifetime can save our life.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not even like chiropractic's job is not to provide miracles. It's not to save a life. All it is to bring a person back to what normal is. And when they're functioning at normal, that's when they live the perfect optimal life. That's what normal is, right? And you're right. I mean, that should be our job, is to keep people functioning in their normal state, because that's what optimal is. And then the medical doctors, listen, we do need them. Absolutely, we need them. And, there is times where their intervention is necessary. And man, don't they do a great job at it? But they shouldn't be the ones trying to keep people living optimally, right? That should be us. That's where we should sit.
So, changing gears a little bit, what are some of your key marketing strategies, and how do you share what you do with your audience?
So my husband and I, Sean Dill, we have a group called the Black Diamond Club. And that's a group of individuals, mostly chiropractors, but we also have other small business entrepreneurs in there. And what we do is we actually teach marketing and sales strategies to them all the time. We have workshops, we have lives, we have podcasts, we do all sorts of things. But the fundamental premise behind it is that, especially in chiropractic, most everything that we've done up until this point hasn't increased our market share. Like if you look at chiropractic as a business, since the time that we've been growing, developing, what's actually happened is that our market share of the population has decreased. But the amount of students that we are graduating, what have they done? They've increased. So we have more chiropractors out there, and we're taking care of less of the population. So from a marketing and sales standpoint, what that tells me is that the old marketing efforts that we've been utilizing for so long, they're not effective. So one of the things that we teach is kind of out of the box, innovative strategies to optimize your marketing. And so a lot of the things that we do, especially in our offices, is we work really, really hard to create community. So I would say my number one marketing strategy is creating community. We've done that in the Black Diamond Club. We have a community of 350 entrepreneurs. And then in all of my offices, we create community where people can come in and they can engage with us at a very low level, meet us, like us. We can build trust and credibility before we even go at a hard sell and tell them you need chiropractic. And it's been pretty amazing because that's actually given us so much more exposure to our immediate areas, because people want to be part of what we're doing, and they're not turned off by the idea that they have to come in for chiropractic care right away. So I would say number one marketing strategy is being able to create a community in your office that people want to come and join you in. So events, hanging out, watching you do Facebook Lives, having classes at your office from some of your strategic partners that you work with, hosting events, all sorts of things, just creating a community where people can show up.
That's really cool. I like the idea of community. I think that's a lot what we're doing here with Chiro Hustle is we're building a larger chiropractic community, people that might not otherwise have the opportunity to have the chiropractic community know who they are. We're holding space for people to share their stories, which I think is really unique, and it's being well supported too, because I think that chiropractic just needs to be able to be understood better. Like you said, there's kids that go into school and they don't even know what they're there for, and they get out of school and they don't know what their direction is.
Right.
So I think that building a good community from even us on the small vibration that we're making, teaming up with groups like Black Diamond Club and Chiro Sushi, and getting our sponsors on board like Clothes for Chiro, and just learning all the nuances that it takes to make a successful profession. I think everybody's voice needs to be heard, and it just needs to be more accepted that chiropractic moves forward and learns how to build a better community.
Yeah, and if you drill down to it, I mean, we're human beings, and what we really want is acceptance and community. That's what everybody wants. And I think you're right that we need it in all areas of chiropractic, right? And so what you guys are doing is so wonderful, because you are holding that space and you are building community. And that's what we want, but that's also what we need right now to move our profession forward.
So now that we're on the topic of community, what is your favorite app or technology to stay engaged with your community?
Well, the Black Diamond Club has an app, and I happen to like it because it gives us alerts every day on stuff to do. But I would say overall, like, most favorite app, I'm always on Instagram. I think Instagram's a great way to stay connected with the community. People in my community for my office are on there. They message there. They're really active. You know, we help take care of a lot of people that are millennials. You know, I'm in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, so it's like the birthing area of all things technology. So people, that's how they communicate, right? That's how people connect now. Unfortunately, though, is through social media outlets and mediums. And I've just found Instagram has been the most fun and the best way to connect. I mean, we have a Instagram page where all of our people are on, and they like our stories and they comment, and I would say that keeps us connected.
Yeah, we also like Instagram too.
Yeah.
We like the idea that you can actually go Instagram live. So a lot of times I'll do an Instagram live, kicking people over, well, not kicking people, but pulling people off of Instagram and asking them to go over to Facebook Live. And I get a crossover audience coming now from my Instagram Live over to my Facebook Live to participate.
Right. And I think that that's important, right? Is just really understanding who your target market is and where are they housed? Where are they living? What apps are they using? So really, it shouldn't even be about what app do I love using to connect with my community. It should be, what is your community using? And you should use that app to connect with them. So the question would be backwards, right?
I think that's really cool, because you have to go where people are. And honestly, right. I think I've been on Facebook almost 4 years. And before that, I loved my anonymity. I didn't, need to be in the limelight. I didn't need to be the guy that was, campaigning for the future of chiropractic. But after I did that, I went to where everybody was. I went to where the community hung out. So you have to go, if you want a certain type of interaction, you have to go where the people are interacting.
Right, exactly. So it's not about what you love, it's about what they love.
That's kind of a hot tip we got from Russell Brunson. He said, don't try to make traffic, find the traffic and jump in front of it.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I love it.
So we've all talked about chiropractic a lot here, as we should, but now we're going to talk about Lacey a little bit. What do you like to listen to, and what do you like to read in your spare time? What do you like to feed your brain?
So I always have either a green book next to my bed, or I also have a lot of Simon Senzen's books. I love his books too. So I'm always reading something chiropractic. I think that, again, that's important for me to stay on track with the one thing that I love the most and the profession that I'm in. But then I also really enjoy reading business books, self-development books, listening to podcasts. So I love people like Marie Forleo. I'm always watching her videos, listening to what she's doing. Right now, my business coach, Sean and I, is Jay Abraham. And so right now, being coached by him, I read all of his stuff, all of his books. Michael Port's Book Yourself Solid has been integral into how I market and sell as a business. I mean, man, you name it, I probably listen to it. I would say that there's always some sort of business podcast or book somewhere in my life on a day-to-day basis.
That's great. Well, we're starting to get towards the end of our episode, so this is the point where we ask you, what are some social media links or websites that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, so a couple of them. So we're just launching our new website. It's www.shawnandlacey.com. So it's SHAWN and Lacey, LACEY.com. And that is essentially the hub for all the things that we do. Our Black Diamond Club is on there. All of our sales, marketing, and money mindset workshops are available on there, where we're speaking. And then also theartofthespecific.com. That is our technique program that we teach. So that would be another link to look at. And then, of course, check me out on Facebook. You can find me under Lacey Book. Send me a friend request and we can connect.
Well, that's great. I think that all the information you shared today is definitely going to enlighten the chiropractic profession with who Lacey Book is and what you guys are doing as a team and what you guys are doing as a community. And I think that your team will have a great impact going forward. I love Sean's leadership and I love what you guys are doing for chiropractic. And I just want to say thank you for making some time today to share your story.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I want to say one last thing.
Sure.
One last thing I always think about is a quote I heard a long time ago, and it's success is a road that's always under construction. So whatever anybody's doing out there, everything you're trying to drive towards, move towards, know that it's always under construction. It's going to be bumpy. You're going to be working, but we'll get there. We'll get there as a profession, and we'll get there as individuals. So thank you guys for what you do, because I know that you're part of that road.
Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It was an honor to reconnect with you today, and I look forward to everybody learning from a strong woman's voice like yours in the chiropractic profession long term.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for being our guest today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.